Lovely touch from him though. Harry Kane, Lucas Moura, can you do something, please? Last chance, Matt Doherty!
Oh, you shite! There could be
From
the dead to the
don't fuck it up now, don't fuck it up! Go and win it!
Let's go
Last
for
chance! Stephen Bergwijn! Stephen Bergwijn's through! Win it, Stephen! Come on!
Yes! He's won it! He has never won it! Oh my God! Oh my God! We did it!
Yo, check that out. Remember that? Remember that, people? I feel like I had to bring that bad boy back. I feel like I had to old school loop it back into Succession. You know why? Because what the hell is going on? What the hell is going on with Tottenham fans? I'm never someone that usually parlays about these things. You know I'm not. I like everyone each to their own. But the boy goes away for a couple of weeks. Things on the agenda, you know, shenanigans, they are very much afoot. And the whole Tottenham fan base falls apart. We got the moderates moving to the Levy out, which is fair enough, by the way. It is what it is. I don't agree, but I support the movement. I support the rhetoric. I think it's important, actually, that Levy out does exist because it keeps Levy on his toes and the board. But when the moderates move this way, you got the Johnny-come-latelys doing this and the ever-present faction going, I can't be seen to associate with the Johnny-come-latelys. I've been around this here part for years gone by. So what have I got to do? I got to move further to the left. I got to move over here. And now you see people saying winning a trophy. Well, that's part of the problem. That's going to derail our movement. Our movement that is it's fundamentally because we don't win enough trophies, but we can't win another trophy. Forbid. Heaven forfend. In the worst case scenario, we get a trophy. This whole Levy out movement is done. So we better lose to Liverpool. And you know what? Better yet, we better get relegated. And then we get our way. Then, and only then, does Daniel Levy have some real pressure on his doors? Does that mean that Daniel Levy sells his club? No. Does it mean that we are forever begotten of that horrible parasite that is Daniel Levy, the guy who pays more tax in about 3 weeks of work than the rest of us pay in our lifetimes? That parasite, does he go? No. But we spend a year in the Championship. That's what the fan base has become. What is going on, people? How you doing? How are you? We got to talk about that. We got to talk about some other things. We got to talk about the chat. That what is and has been a window that, if I'm entirely honest, yes, could things have happened sooner? For sure. Is the world perfectly round? No, it's not. It's oblate, if you had to know. It's like a beach ball that's been sat on by someone like yours truly. But dear, oh dear, oh dear. I mean, I don't know what's going on. You got people that want to be able to say, oh my God, Matisse Tell, decent player, decent business. Wait a minute, how did that come about? Did Daniel Levy have to really pay £10 million for a 4-month loan deal? Did he have to pay 100% of that player's wages? Well, that would surely maybe dampen the argument that someone doesn't pay salaries. Well, that we can't really celebrate that, can we? We can't celebrate that. We can't celebrate a decent window. No. We have to move the goalposts. We have to move the goalposts. And the goalpost shall be moved, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. It's been a while. We came out last night. Was it last night or the night before with Johnny? It was the night before, wasn't it? on the eve as the sun set on another transfer window. I came back and I was dialing in because, believe it or not, I've had to pull out. I see Nick Lazy 8 in the house. Big up, Nick. Good to see you, mate. Nick Lazy 8 a long time ago recommended that I go and buy some M7s, some Samsung monitors, and I go and get the data studio. And I said to him from day one, I said, I'm not really a massive fan of this of how the mouse, it doesn't move fast enough. Little did I know that the mouse was moving absolutely fine. It wasn't them. It was the shenanigans that were slowing things down. And you know what? I've had to reinstall it today. It's been sat in a storage unit for the last, I don't know, 3 months. And the reason why, obviously, is that when I have to reinstall Sonoma or Sequoia or whatever Mac version we're on today, every time I do it, I get thousands of errors on the screen, thousands of warnings that these things aren't safe, that your security policy is corrupt, all this stuff. But at the same time, I feel like I have to come back and speak to you people. I couldn't just let sleeping dogs lay. I couldn't do it. I miss you lot too much. So I came out with Johnny. Oi, oi. He's a good looking man. He really is, but he's not my slice. I prefer the female cookie crumble, if you know what I mean. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to figure out my plan of action to be rid of these people that are, that are doing what they're doing to me. But I haven't figured that plan out yet because, hashtag can't find much help. And I feel like over the last 10 months, I've spent 20 hours a day of my life investigating a crime against me on corrupted computers and devices, purely because the cybercrime division of the Southern Police Force of the UK have a policy in place, which is if you want us to follow up on your crime, then you have to, as a victim of crime, investigate your own crime for yourself. And that would turn most people off, right? But I went, okay, if that's what I have to do, I'll have to do it. And so I have spent the last 10 months investigating, educating myself, and spending every hour God sends looking up this and that. And whenever I find something suspicious, I've gone and figured out what that means and then put it down on a piece of note. You can't see it over here. You can't see it. There's about, I'm not sure about you to go that way so you can see it. In the corner there, it looks like there's like 3 or 4 sort of boxes of notes, right? But in those 2 drawers, they are chock-a-block with evidence of crimes and also of my notes and stuff. And so that's where I've been. That's where I've been, guys. But I've got it all figured out, but I just can't find anybody to help me with the resolution of it. But listen, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, what you have is a guy who misses talking to you lot about Tottenham. And like I say, in my absence, I feel like the world's fallen apart. I don't know what the hell is going on. What on God's green earth is going on where you have factions of our fan base who were once upon a time reasonable Levy outers when things were going well for Tottenham, when we were finishing 5th in the season. It was only last year, by the way. It's only last year, right? And the previous 17 years where we finished in the European spots, right? No trophies. I get it. No trophies. But where everything was going right. And then you had these people that are like fundamentally Levy out and they're like, hardcore. And I actually respect them. I actually do respect, for what it's worth, guys. I have a lot of time for people who don't change their mind when the wind changes direction. I actually have the least respect for people that are the Johnny come latelys. I really do. Not in like a personal way. I don't know any one of you who used to be moderate and now you go that way. Fair play. Everyone to their own. Like I say, each to their own. I don't care. You don't care you shouldn't care what I think. And I shouldn't have to care what you think. I'm interested to know your opinion and I hope you're interested to know mine. I'm guessing that's why you're here. But to each their own. They're just opinions, right? But the people that have stayed true to their message for years, I have a lot of respect for those people because it's not been easy for them. And I understand that they get a lot of grief, such as I get a lot of grief. I've had death threats. I've had physical offerings of fights. I've had God knows what else going on. For all I know, the people that have hacked me are Levy outers. But in any event, I have absolute empathy and sympathy for those people that have strong opinions regardless of which way the wind is blowing, and they stay true. And I respect it. I do. I really do. And so I've got no issue with it. Like I say, if you are someone that's Levy out, I've got no issue with that. And you shouldn't have an issue with me because I don't feel if you are someone that really hates somebody because of the way that they feel about something and someone as irrelevant as Daniel Levy is in the grand scheme of your life and my life, then, that's enough for me to know everything I need to know about you, you know, and you're not my type of person. In the words, the brilliant words of Dana White from the UFC, I don't want to be friends either. And the feeling is very mutual, but not because of how you feel about Daniel Levy. It's because of how you carry yourself as a person. You shouldn't hate someone because of how they feel about topics that are largely out of your control. And talking about things that are outside of people's control, I find it absolutely incredible about the ability for human beings to have wildly aggressive expectations of people and things that they don't really understand and that are completely outside of their control, and yet don't set the same standards for their own lives. You know, it's quite incredible, guys. But listen, I wanted to kind of come out and say hello to everybody and kind of reset with the channel, because it's been a while, and I hope everyone is doing happy and healthy and enjoying their year so far. I hope if you managed to make it through dry January, congratulations. I think the only thing that was dry about my January, given what I'm going through and just given the sort of person I am, is the bottle of cider that I finished at about just gone 11 o'clock, and I couldn't refill. And I woke up the next day looking for a dreg, and there wasn't much left in it. You know, that's the sort of that's the life I roll. You know, dry January for me is literally that, when the last bottle's empty and the new bottle can't be opened until tomorrow. Opening hours. Let's see who's in the house, shall we? We're on Sean Butler TV for the first time. I wanted to. I think Lazy ain't there is Nick. How you doing, Nick? Good to see you, mate. I love that picture where you got Sonny and Romero giving themselves a little. It's lovely to see. Why both? I'm guessing you're saying why Sean Butler TV and also Spurs Talk Show. Well, I wanted to get Sean Butler TV growing and going again, and because I'm also doing Football Link with Johnny, it's one of those things where you're not entirely sure whether you need to. Does Sean Butler TV need to exist? Can it be kind of sunset? And I think it should. I think it can, because football finance is my most interesting part of football, I think, outside of what happens at Tottenham. But so I will be doing that. But I haven't had a chance to put any video up because of this. So I don't know if you noticed as well. I can see I can do this way. The camera points. Look at that. It's pretty cool, isn't it? I didn't even know my camera had a feature like that, but it's pretty sensational. But good to see you, Nick. Good to see you, buddy. I've got the M7 in front of me, and I've got two of them now. I've got one of them in the lockup still, but I didn't realize that M7's got like access to Samsung TV, Freeview, 200 channels. It's got CNBC for free. I pay about 40 quid a month for a Sky subscription to get hold of channels. The only channel of which I actually watch is CNBC. And then I realized a year and a half after buying this bad boy that you get CNBC for free via Samsung TV. So I feel like I'm going to pay. It's going to pay for itself in about a year's time, once I get that cancellation underway. Good to see you, Jess. How you doing? What WB, Sean? Is that like what's bird? What bird, Sean? I don't know. Or well-being, Sean? I don't know. Drewzilla, what's happening, Drewzilla? What's happening, my man? He said, let's effing go. They're not keeping my boy down. No, you never keep me down. I actually feel like I might even start a fourth channel. You know, one channel's not enough. The second channel's just getting going. The third channel, Sean Butler TV, I'm not sure if there's any need for it. But the fourth channel, I might live stream my own investigation into the hack and see how the hackers react, because they're watching this, they're listening to this. So hi, everybody in that world, wherever you are, Romania, Bulgaria, Russia, China. I've got evidence of all of your footprints all over my world, and they wouldn't be there if it wasn't for your involvement in my life. So I hope you're enjoying it. Also to the Americans and the Germans. I know there's some Germans that are watching this through the hacking world. Congratulations to you guys. I hope you... Wie geht's? Nicht so schlecht? Ja, gut. It is what it is. So I might live stream the investigation and see how they handle that. That'll be fun. Jay Zing's in the house. Jazz Sing, evening all. Good to see you. Old school intro. Yeah, the old school intro was really just like, I need to update it. I need to get rid of Conte, get rid of that clown. Sayonara Clownsville. But one second, guys. One second. Sorry about that. Yeah, but I've got to update that video. I've got to update it, right? But I feel like it's necessary to remind people, to make people remember. You know, there's good things about being a Tottenham fan. There's some really good moments in there. It's not all pain and gain, or pain and dire moments. It's not as bad as everyone thinks it is. And for what it's worth, this window was actually a very good window comparatively. You want to compare an Arsenal fan's take on their window versus a Tottenham fan's take on theirs? Well, if you ask certain people, then Tottenham had a terrible window, right? I think mainly that's because they were set in their way about certain things, and on reflection, it's actually a good window. Bearing in mind, the devil is always in the detail, and context is always key, guys, and it's always king. And with the context of how difficult it is, I don't know if everyone saw Johan Lang's post window reflection video on Sky Sports. I think it was maybe it was on Tottenham Hotspur channel, the YouTube channel. But he answered some very interesting questions, and he answered them in a way that I understand. And maybe I think you guys are all very much able to understand as well. I just think whether or not you want to choose to believe the things that he said or not depends on your personal style of discourse and your cynicism around what is Tottenham, all things Tottenham Hotspur. I choose to live life through a glass half full lens, and I choose to look at things through the context of, you know, what could have been. And a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people don't want to look at that. They like to have their take, and then they'll fit the evidence to suit the narrative. And we don't try to do that on Spurs Talk Show. We try to be as balanced as possible. And I feel like, you know, my absence over the last 3 or 4 weeks has left an inability for me to kind of bring to you a more balanced perspective. And I think, look, as far as I can tell, I'm in a pool of one right now. Even Johnny, who's Levy out for sure, but is entirely reasonable as a fan. I think he obviously leans a little bit towards, you know, that things are bad, that things are pretty poor at Tottenham, and that's why I enjoy his company, because he's got an ability to smile and laugh it off and have a good time. And a lot of you in the comment section after videos that I do with him say, like, you know, if you happen to appreciate my style of content, then you might not appreciate him, right? But that's why we work together, because yin and yang is necessary. You want the good and you want the bad. You want the Marmite. You know, there's going to be people that really appreciate his style of thoughts and commentary, and there's hopefully going to be people that appreciate mine. And therefore, you're not cutting off corners of the community by just being, you know, one version of a viewpoint, especially when I don't really have like a massive common 10-man panel type of thing going on. But everybody seems to have pivoted towards Levy out. You know, Last Word on Spurs have gone that direction. You know, I'm a massive fan of Ricky. I love him to pieces. He's invited me on his channel many times. I was supposed to be on many more, but obviously couldn't commit in the last couple of weeks. But he seems to have kind of, you know, taken what was already somewhat there for him, and he's now gone that direction. People on his channel last week were saying, surely there's no one in the Tottenham fan base. There's nobody in the Tottenham fan base that could possibly think anything other than Levy out. If I was there, I'd be like, yeah, me. I'm one. I'm not Levy in. I'm happy for Daniel Levy to go, but show me better. Don't bring me a problem. Bring me a solution. And I don't see many solutions. All I see is Daniel Levy's the problem. And I don't think he is the problem. You must have heard it by now 1,000 times from me. I've told you it before. I'll say it again. Daniel Levy may be the internal bottleneck on certain things. But I think a lot of his work, a lot of Johan Lang's work is misunderstood. I think a lot of the complications are underappreciated. They're easy things to point fingers at when you don't know the detail, but you don't have to know the detail to form an opinion. But even if you're right about all of those things, which I'm not sure you are, but even if you are right about all of those things, then it doesn't change the fact that, you know, 92% of all trophies in the last 25 years have been won by 5 teams. 75% of them have been won by 2 teams. And the only common denominators that really should be of your focus are money in football, the unequal playing field, and the inability for the Premier League and the lawmakers to be able to cover the various loopholes in an otherwise inadequate and inept body of people who can't construct a set of rules that should be able to level that playing field and make the dice a little bit less loaded, even though it's impossible to do so because it's always a moving target and, you know, it's not an even starting point. But the absence of doing that surely doesn't change anything manifest or materially with regards outcomes. And for all the teams that used to be as successful there or thereabouts as Tottenham were, and I can bring them up on the screen in a minute. West Ham, West Brom, Wolves, Leeds, Newcastle, Everton, Aston Villa, none of those teams have won anything, and they've all changed their owners. And the only thing that's changed with regards to their successes since the change of ownership is moments in the top four, of which Tottenham have had dozens more over the last 25 years. And other than that, occasional bankruptcy in the cases of teams like Derby and Leeds, etc. Administration. So this notion that anything but Daniel Levy is good is ridiculous. And then, like I said at the start, you're now seeing factions of the fan base that have always been in that department that are now seeing the Johnny-come-latelys walk over that way, and they need a way to differentiate themselves from those people, and they become more extreme. And this is not a Tottenham theme. This is a human nature theme. You look into any annals of any political history. You look anywhere. You look in the Just Stop Oil versus the Greens. You look in the Donald Trumps versus the Antifa. All of those things, they started here, and then they move that way as the middle points one direction. They need a way to differentiate themselves from the moderates that are moving into a populism scenario, because they need to be a little bit more extreme than the populists, Johnny-come-latelys. And it's a common theme. And so you will see more and more of it. But be careful, guys. Be very, very careful that you're not caught up in that, because on YouTube, you don't see much moderation anymore. You really don't. You don't see people that are chewing over the fat and leaning. Some people lean this way, some people lean that way. There's merit to one argument, but there are, byproduct reasons that are necessary to convey. You don't see that. Everyone's fearful of being the last man out. Everyone's kind of taking the sheep mentality, and it's scary. It's really scary, and that's one of the reasons why I popped back in to say hello. I don't know how long my channel will be alive for, because ultimately, what's more important to me, privacy and security versus having an opinion about Tottenham, that can disappear. I do worry about what happens, though. I do really worry that if I disappear for a year, I come back and everyone's got whatever the Tottenham equivalent of, I don't know, swastikas or something on their flags. It's a little bit square. It's a little bit scary. Let's carry on and see who's in the house, shall we? We got Arthur Sleep, Boogie down, Sean. The Boogie. That's all right. I'll say, blame it on the boogie. Blame it on the boogeyman. Daniel Levy is the boogeyman. He's a curious kind of guy, says Nick. And we got here Drewzilla with a most lovely super chat. Thank you, Drew. I really appreciate you, mate. That's lovely of you, man. Lovely, very much. He says, smash the likes and check those subs. Big up, Shawnee. We never stop. We don't stop. That's interesting, actually. Let's talk about Ange Postecoglou for a little while. How's everyone's vibe on Ange Postecoglou? Can I ask everyone to throw in? I want to get one of the things that happened just before I disappeared was I was supposed to be doing a debate, right, with Stelios, and after being called out for this and that, a coward or whatever for a year and all that stuff, and I said, yeah, no, I can't really debate the guy, because I've got friends that they think less of me, and then eventually I kind of had a word with them. I said, do you mind? Because it's just it should probably happen, and they all said okay, and I said okay, fair enough. So let's do it. And then all of a sudden it didn't happen, right? It didn't happen, and Stelios kind of sort of walked it back. He wasn't interested in debating me after a while. And that's fine, by the way. Like, it's no problem. I'm literally not in any way trying to antagonize him or anyone else here by saying this. But he wasn't interested in debating, and so we parked it, right? And that's fine. It doesn't have to happen. It never needed to happen. It wasn't going to solve anything anyway. I think he made a point saying, look, there's nothing to gain out of it, regardless. I think he's right. People that feel one way are going to feel their way, and people that don't are going to feel that way. But then one of the reasons, the rationales as to why it wasn't going to happen was there was a disagreement around what's the platform, the forum in which it should happen. And I obviously said, well, look, Stelios, you said anytime, anywhere, right? And so I was like, okay, well, look, given my circumstances with regards to what I'm going through, like, believe it or not, as much as this is embarrassing, I say, right, like, kind of right now, a lot of my businesses, of which, you know, I've got 3, but they're all kind of on, they're all parked, they're all suspended. And so, like, you know, I'm not going to hand over the juice of a debate to some third party. Like, it's just not, there's no nonsensical. It's like Mike Tyson, not to describe myself and Stelios as, you know, heavyweight blockbuster boxers, but just for an analogy, it's like Mike Tyson in his prime, I guess, taking on Evander Holyfield, but giving the purse to Lennox Lewis. Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. I said, you said anytime, anywhere. Let's do it. I said, well, we'll do it on my stream and on your stream. You know, we'll multi-stream, or we'll do one on mine and one on yours. We can do 1 hour on mine and 1 hour on yours. And he said, no, it has to be on a neutral party. And then all these other channels that kind of chimed in on their opinion, who are all friends with him, by the way, saying, you know, yeah, it has to be neutral. It has to be on, you know, and giving examples like Football Heritage or I forget the channel's name. Danny's channel, whatever it's called. Can't even think of the name of the channel. No disrespect, Dan. I've got a lot of things on my mind. But they were saying, oh, you know, they're examples of neutral channels. And I'm like, there's no such thing as a neutral channel. There's no such thing. Like, you know, like, I'm not a frequenter of any channels anymore. So there is no such thing as a neutral channel. But like, I would make the argument, given that my stance is so unique, that this channel is probably the most neutral. Given that every other guest that comes on this channel is Levy out, and I'm the only person in the community that will defend Daniel Levy, I would make the argument that this channel is probably more neutral than any other. And I just wanted to do a little test, if you don't mind, guys. Like, you know, just smash a 1 if you are Levy out, and smash a 0 if you are not Levy out, not Levy in. I don't think there's any Levy ins, but if you lean more towards my side, where there's like other things that are relevant, and that Daniel Levy going is not going to solve Tottenham's problems, then hit a 0. But if you think that Daniel Levy leaving the club and handing over ownership is going to manifest into better trophy opportunities, then smash a 1. So 1 for Levy out, 0 for not Levy out. I just want to quickly see where we're at. Because I think that it would be interesting to have a quick look, see where we're at. So let's have a, where did we start? Hang on a second. We got Marshall's the first one. Marshall is 1, 0. So more Levy out, Levy not out, Levy out, Levy not out, not out, 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 not out, not out, not out. Somewhere in the middle, not out, not out. It's like a cricket score. 1s. Yeah, look, I mean, there's too many to ban through. There's 600 people here, by the way. I think that, yeah, look, it's about 50-50, probably more towards Levy out than Levy not out. So, yeah, like I say, I would imagine that if you were to do that same experiment on Hotspur Hood, there you go. Sorry, Dan, I do apologize, my man. Honestly, nothing personal, but my mind's full up with junk. I'd imagine if you were to ask that same question on there or Tottenham away or anywhere else, I would imagine that it would be 99% one way. So, like I say, the idea of a neutral venue, I just don't think exists. But anyway, yeah, that was the point of that conversation. But let's get back into this window, guys. There's a few super chats I need to just run through here. So sorry, Drew. Smash the like and check those subs. Big up, Sean. We never stop. Yeah, thank you, mate, and thank you so much for really generous, mate. Honestly, right now it means a lot. It's embarrassing to say it, but it does really help because, as I say, all my businesses are well, they have sensitivity towards things that are important to other people. Like, I'm a pension advisor, for example, for a few people, for several people, and in order for me to make those adjustments, I'd have to be logging into, you know, people's monetary, and I can't really do that on this device or any other. So there's a lot of things that are struggling, but as a consequence, you know, you have to press pause on all that stuff. So yeah, to get those super chats are really, really cool. Thank you very much. Tom Martin saying, evening, Sean and chat, not cancelling subs. Come on, you Spurs. Love that, man. Remember, for 13 months, Appreciate you. But honestly, on that, and look at that from Moondog, big up, Sean. Member for 31 months. Jesus Christ, that is 2.5 years, not near on 3 years. Honestly, guys, like I say, I don't know how long. I got to like speak to some experts and then make some decisions because it is what it is, right? I don't, grand scheme of things, Spurs talk show. If I have to kind of cancel it and then start again in a few months' time or whatever with a brand new clean slate, I would hope that most of you would find me and come back. If not, it is what it is. But it's really not the reason to maintain a monitored presence. So, but just on that basis, I don't want you guys to be hanging on to memberships. If I have to disappear for a month and I don't get a chance to say, say goodbye, then I don't want you guys to be paying for things that I can't deliver. So just listen to what I'm saying there, and I have absolute gratitude for your support. But it is what it is. Blaine Devlin saying, blame it on the boogie. Sean, you need to get yourself on the tannoy at the lane. That would pump the crowd up. Yeah, I love that. Have a beer on me, Sean. Thank you, Moondog. Very generous of you. Very generous of you as well. Blaine Dev, love you guys. What we doing? Start over. The support for you will be there. Appreciate you, Roy. Appreciate you, mate. I'm going to get myself a little panel show going very soon. But I do want to get your takes, guys. I do want to get your takes. I enjoyed that little. Let me see all the zeros and ones. Where did we get to? Let's have a look. See. Let's have a look. See. Let's have a look. See. Zeros, ones, Glaziers or Ineos, which is better? Well, there you go. Right. This is one of the things. Okay. So when we're talking about, and I always try to be balanced, right? So there are examples of ownership that are very, very, very good at their relative levels. And one of them is the geezer who runs Nottingham Forest. I forget his name. Is it Klakinikos or Silianikos or something? I forget his name. He's the shipping magnate from Greece or from Cyprus. I'm not sure which one. And probably should know the difference because it's quite a sensitive area. But multi-club ownership dude. He's got football clubs all the way from Greece to Portugal and Nottingham Forest. And he's done fantastically well. And it's very rare that you will see a multi-club owner that has a universally well appreciated outlook, right? Everyone's on board, but he's one of them. So he's a perfect example, right? And you got obviously Bill Foley, but Bill Foley's doing really well at Bournemouth. As I always say, though, right, these owners that are benefiting from transfer spend, they develop these players up, they sell them, and then they move on to the next conveyor belt of talent. Brighton and Brentford are great examples of that. When you move up the ladder towards 6th or 7th, and your fan base starts to have new expectations around continuity in that regard, then you have to eventually stop selling your best players, and therefore you don't get to buy a player for 5 million and sell them for 60 or 70 or 100 in the case of Brighton. You have to keep hold of them and then add and supplement that to that talent pool. And unfortunately, when you only have in the case of Bournemouth, a 14,000 seater stadium, then it's very difficult to do because you don't generate the funds like Tottenham does, or other teams that have massive income from non-footballing activities, or even footballing activities but in match day receipts. And Daniel Levy's incredibly gifted at that, and I think that goes underappreciated. I genuinely do. Like I understand why people feel the way that they feel about Daniel Levy. I understand the lack of ambition thing, even though I think it's a word that's thrown around. Ambition, it's a subjective. It's a it's nice, isn't it? I'll wait until 6:30. It's not bad. It's one of those words that is, well, it's subjective, and therefore by proxy, it's something that is always able to be modified. The goalposts can be moved around what it looks like. The same as backing a manager. You wait until after the fact, and if you inevitably fail, as most teams do, if your line in the sand around what failure and success looks like is lifting a trophy, then unless you're one of the big 5 teams, then you will fail. And therefore, if you are a content creator or a fan who leans to the negative, then you're going to be right most of the time. That is human nature. It doesn't just exist in football. It's a psychological norm. If you read any book on psychology, I've read dozens, you will find that those that lean negative will find the path to correctness more often than they don't, because life is filled with people who set reasonable or unreasonable expectations of things that they don't necessarily have control over, and yet at the same time will not hold themselves to those same jurisdictions in their own life, right? That's just the way it works. It's the same reason why everyone is in the office space. If you work in an office, you're very happy to point the finger at someone that's holding you up, but then when it comes to you delivering on your time, your schedule, then you may be more likely to find excuses, which some people call explanations, other people call excuses. If it's someone that you're attacking, that's an excuse. If it's someone that's defending, that's an explanation. Very thin line between the two. And for me, I just think that when it comes to those teams that are coming up, Nottingham Forest notwithstanding, I think they're doing a very good job right now, but their owner will not be able to put together the same spend next season, this summer, next summer, etc., absent some sort of miracle justification. Eventually, they're going to have to sell their incredible centre back. Eventually, they will have to sell people that are the shining lights of their squad, right? And Tottenham don't have to do that anymore. And I think that those things are very real truths. They're not fanciful concepts. They are very real truths that go swept under the radar, swept under the rug rather, by fans who don't want to see or give credit, or even if they do give credit, even if they say yeah, great businessman, but great accountant, but it's paying lip service, it's gaslighting the very real other side of the coin. And there always is a different side of the coin, guys. There's always a different side of the coin, and I think that it's important that we always reflect on that. Now, at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and say to you that Daniel Levy doesn't irritate me. I think that the attempt to sign Mark Gahey at the end of the window was embarrassing. I think that that's obviously a ridiculous notion that never had any real plausibility and any real chances of actually manifesting into reality. I'd also make the argument that if you're, probably didn't need to wait to find out that Mickey van der Ven was injured. The second that I heard that we'd signed Kevin Danzo and then also going after a Mark Gahey, I think that even though I had no access to the internet at the time, I had literally where is it? I've got it around here somewhere. I had a little Nokia 3210 dumb phone, and I had no access to the internet at all. And yet, as soon as I saw that, I said, well, that clearly means that there's something wrong with Mickey van der Ven or with Romero, or possibly both. Because, if you've got Kevin Danso and he's coming in to replace Radu Dragisin, who hasn't exactly set the world alight since he's been here, then why would you spend £70 million if Van der Ven and Romero are both relatively soon to be coming back into the team? Doesn't make any sense. So to me, either Romero's out the door in the summer, if we're genuinely looking at someone like Mark Gahey, then Romero wants out. He wants to go to Real Madrid. Or possibly both, or Mickey van der Ven is broken down. The fact that he played 45 minutes against Elfsborg and then didn't play against Brentford, why would you do that? Why would you give him 45 minutes and then nothing? You'd give him 20 minutes and then 45, right? That's the way it would normally work. You'd build him up towards a semi-final. Speaking of which, massive game tonight, starting in an hour's time, guys. An hour's time. Let me see where we're at. Let me see where we're at, guys. I've got some more super chats I've got to get to. We got some ones and zeros. The ones and zeros. We got Phil P. What's happening, Phil? Woo! Good to see you. He's a 6. I flip-flop Sean in and out, in out. It's okay. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to if new evidence comes along, Moondog. It's okay to sit there and go, well, I was defending Daniel Levy because I've been tested by this. As I said in the last video before my absence, I said, I think it was about 2.5 weeks ago, the last video before my absence, I said something's going on at Tottenham. It doesn't make sense. Nothing makes sense about the combination of factors here that are at play. You have this like weird thing with regards to the investment that happened in December that we only found out about in early January with regards, was it 11.5 million, 12 million? Was it 30 million? You know, 2 or 3 newspapers said 30, 2 or 3 said 11. Don't know what it was. It certainly happened, but why did either of them happen didn't really make any sense. But there was no clarification on what the valuation was. There was a printing of new shares. People that referenced the 11 million were referencing shareholder updates that happened in November. Then the people were referencing the 30 million were referencing shareholder updates in December. It was madness either way. There still isn't any clarity around what valuation those shares were printed at. And on top of that, why do that if you're trying to sell the club? And the valuations didn't make sense. It was either 10 billion or 2.5 billion, neither of which make any sense. The club is valued more than 2.5 billion for sure, and it's valued far less than 10 billion for sure. So you have that whole thing that's unresolved and no clarification and no curiosity from the journalists to go and figure what's going on there. Then you have no activity after the January the 1st thing. Then you have like Daniel Levy and the club saying they support Ange Postecoglou, as Ange Postecoglou is crying out for support, but he's not being given it physically. Then you have like the Amanda Staveley thing, the 500 million pound. Is that going to happen? What's happening there? No detail. You have a dereliction of duty, literally a legal responsibility that you're not adhering to if there has been any kind of communication with regards to that you're not updating us on. And that would tie back to what happened in December with these share valuations. If it was the 12 million, does that coincidentally correlate with the 12 million that they paid for Kinski? If so, then why is that? Was that potentially because a new bidder was coming in saying, yeah, I will participate in this, but at this particular valuation, which means that you're not allowed to spend any more money out of the coffers because I'm buying in for a slice at this point, and then you're now going to go and drop 50 bar on a player that I haven't vetoed or otherwise. All these things that were unknown, right? And I'm like, what's going on? It doesn't make any sense to me. That's why I said there might be something happening in the background. And I still think that there is, by the way. I still very much think that there is something happening behind the scenes that makes a little bit more sense of why things happen the way they did. But then you wait until the 29th of January and you get the Matisse Tell situation happen, which is even more bizarre. Let's be entirely honest, right? I think it's bizarre of the fan base, the way that they reacted. I think that, you know, those people that have made their minds up on Matisse Tell, on Tottenham Hotspur, on Daniel Levy, I think that Daniel Levy has reacted to them and to the furore. And that's why I've said this from the get-go. Those of you that are protesting, go for it. Good luck to you. I personally don't subscribe to the same lens as you do. I don't see it the same way that you do. That doesn't mean that I'm right in my mind or that you're wrong in my mind. I think that it's always a shade of gray. I've said this 1,000 times. Anyone that thinks that I'm your enemy, I'm the opposite of you, you're wrong. We all want the same thing. We just see things through a different perspective. But to me, I'm not going to waste time on a protest because I don't have any evidence in my experience of following football to see any team that has had an owner that has sold their stake in a club at below market rates, below asking price, as a consequence, a direct consequence. There's indirect relationships. People point to Alan Sugar. I've got first-hand knowledge of the fact that that's not the case because my father was the stockbroker for that particular deal. But people reflect on people outside Alan Sugar's house protesting, which again, for me, is outrageous anyway. But it did happen. Long story short, does it have any direct influence in people selling their price at below market rates? No, it doesn't. However, when you see fans protest and come together, you do see outcomes that are indirectly beneficial. And I think that obviously the biggest one being that all fans protested against the Super League. And if I'm entirely honest, I stand true to this mission statement, and I will never waver from it until things deteriorate at Tottenham or elsewhere, that the biggest problem in the imbalance in trophies in the Premier League is the inability for the rule makers to make laws that are consistent, that are cohesive, that can be applied, enforced, and regulated. And the absence of that will always mean that the next guy who takes over the reins from Tottenham or Newcastle or anywhere else will always face the same struggle, which is you've closed the doors after the horse has bolted. I believe that until, true to my core. And I'm not going to change my mind because Daniel Levy had a bad window, or because 90% or what was 60% becomes 90% of people that believe that Daniel Levy is the problem. Good luck to you if that's what you think. I don't think he is. I think he's part of the problem. I think his risk tolerance, I've said this since day one, is problematic. And I think that he could do more. For what it's worth, this notion that, Johnny and I chewed it over the other day, that our current wage to revenue ratio is whatever it is, 43% or something. I think that again is misunderstood. I think it's massively misunderstood. I think that Johnny was arguing that if we were to move that from 45% to 65%, then you'd be able to attract, in so doing, you'd be able to attract the best players in the world, because that you'd be paying 300 grand a week. And I think, to that, the counter to that is that the difference between, let's just argue 45%, whatever the number is, 45%. The difference between that and 70% is what you have to spend relative to your revenue on things that are not your wages, your bonuses, or your agents' fees, or the other things that make up your squad cost ratios, such as transfer fees. So if you had a wage ratio of 70%, then you'd have zero to spend on your transfer fees. So it's all very well turning your current squad into 300 grand a week players to maintain their loyalty to the club, but you can't buy anybody else. But Tottenham don't have a problem keeping hold of their players anyway, with the exception of Harry Kane. And Harry Kane wouldn't have stayed at Tottenham even if you offered him 500 grand a week. It wasn't money that made him leave. It was the pursuit of trophies, of which, funnily enough, he hasn't satisfied since he's gone, right? So, and the difference between why Matisse Tell joined Tottenham and not Manchester United, funnily enough, is because of the squad cost ratio, the squad cost ratios being what they are. We were able to pay his entirety of his wages and pay the £10 million loan fee, which, again, for what it's worth, £10 million spread over 4 months, which is what there's left in the season, is insane. It's a ridiculously high amount of money. I would consider that to be madness on the part of Daniel Levy. Those of you that are Levy out will consider that to be just a last-minute scramble to get the monkey off our back. Nobody's going to sit there and say, well done, Daniel Levy, but ultimately the argument that you don't pay the wages or pay the fee is now out of the window, when actually that is the fairest and most reasonable argument to make. If you are holding Daniel Levy to account for not paying the wages, for not paying the money, for just shut up and pay the deal, because I remember all of this this Jack Grealish stuff, £5 million, too much money. Look what we missed out on, even though I maintain that back then, every other chairman in world football also had the ability to pay that extra 5 million, and nobody took it. Nobody took it. Same with Bruno Fernandes, right? It wasn't just Daniel Levy that missed out on those players, even though I think Bruno Fernandes is a fucking dickhead, and I wouldn't want him anywhere near Tottenham Hotspur. And I've always said that long before his true colours became apparent by watching him for the last 3 years. But those players, the argument as to why Daniel Levy is the sinner that he is because of this notion that he doesn't pay the money. The reason why Matisse Tell is wearing a Tottenham shirt on Thursday night rather than a Manchester United shirt on Sunday is because Daniel Levy paid the money that Manchester United couldn't pay. Not that they wouldn't pay, they couldn't pay. Why? Well, because they pay people like Marcus Rashford £380,000 a week. Manchester United fans are going mental right now about their January window. If you only subscribe to Tottenham channels, I would urge you to go and look at neutral channels or popular fan channels of Arsenal, popular fan channels of Newcastle, popular fan channels of Manchester United, popular fan channels of Chelsea, and go and see how their fans reacted to their window and how they stack rank the various teams in terms of success. Most people would universally agree that Manchester City had a blockbuster window. Most people place Tottenham second. And yet Tottenham fans that have gone this way, they don't want to admit it because it's a dereliction away from a standard deviation away from the norm of their overarching thesis, which is that Daniel Levy is the problem, but yet we signed potentially a fantastic player. And listen, when you correlate that with people like Stefan Borson, who's not a Tottenham fan, where you correlate that with the opinions of people like Simon Jordan, who isn't a Tottenham fan, and others of the financial experts or the highest, most audible voices in the room when it comes to Daniel Levy. As I always say, Daniel Levy, to me, listen, I understand the financial side of the game, but I have no experience in football ownership. You know what? Let me press pause for a split second because I'm dereliction of duty from me here. I haven't had a chance to pause and say hi to people that are putting some super chats. We've got Blaine Devlin saying, Sean, a few of the guys in the WhatsApp chatting about this. You think we have seen a shift from Levy where we will reap the rewards from the youth in a few years, top performers and sellable assets for Liz, Donnelly, for Skovicic. Blaine, thank you. Thank you so much for the wonderfully generous super chat, mate. It means the world. It genuinely does, mate. It genuinely does. It buys me another bottle of Thatcher's or two, and I really appreciate it. Sorry it's taken me a while to get around to it, mate. And if you're talking about the WhatsApp chat, as in my WhatsApp group that I'm no longer a part of. I'm not on WhatsApp at the moment. I don't have access to WhatsApp. So, if you're talking about the WhatsApp group that you guys are all in and enjoying, that I'm supposed to be, I think I'm the only admin of. And I'm guessing that people like Adrian Schroeter, who likes to invite people, and then I have to invite them in. I think that I don't know if there's another admin. I should probably find a way to get someone else to be the admin because I can't access it. But yes, to your point, and thank you very much for the super chat. Where I was going to go with this, after getting through the analysis of people like Simon Jordan et al., which, for what it's worth, these guys universally think that Tottenham fans on the extreme are over the top. They understand, as I do, why people feel the way that they do. That ultimately, you don't understand what it takes to be a football owner, is what Simon Jordan said. Until you're a football owner, you don't know what it's like. You don't know the difficulties of hurrying up and getting things done. And because even on a minor level, a lot of people don't understand the economics just generally of running a business. And that's where obviously my ceiling is just, economics educated and investment banking and stuff. But obviously my ceiling doesn't extend towards football ownership, but I do obviously have an interest in those things and take my time to look into it. And that's why I'm more sympathetic to his plight. But what I would say is Stefan Borson, one of those guys who's a football finance guy, he said that there is a trend, a massive trend that is pivoting towards a very, very few deals that you will see for big, huge money for players that are over the age of 25 to 27, because this shift is moving in one direction. I'm going to go this way with this one. It's moving that direction because there's no sell-on value. There used to be a sell-on value as you hit your 30th year, but these days, despite players maybe having the fitness and the stamina and the health, the sort of legacy investment in their own well-being, that as a football owner, if you sign a player at 27 on a 5-year deal or a 6-year deal, and they run 3 or 4 years down on that clock with you, and they turn 30, you're not going to get the any kind of reimbursement on the player's outlay when you pay 50, 60, 70 million for a player at 26 and they spend 4 years with you, and then you want to get most of or some of that back when they turn 30 with 18 months left on their clock, but you're also paying them 200 grand a week plus. It becomes an incredibly expensive endeavor to have someone with the risk profile that if they get an Achilles or if they get an ACL and they're out for a year, or if they have a subsequent systematic recurring issue, then it might not be a major injury, but it can be as problematic as one. Then you've still got to pay that guy all of his salary, right? And so there's this trend now that Stefan Borson said is very real. If you look into the detail, not just in the Premier League, but across the top 5 leagues, of which, by the way, the other 4 leagues in the top 5, they don't pay the same salaries as Daniel Levy does, let alone what Manchester City or Chelsea do. And so maybe it's a different world in Italy, right? There's a different draw. It's a different set of circumstances in which you can still play for one of the biggest teams ever, but doing it in Italy, they can get away with paying 120 grand a week for something that in the Premier League comes with twice that price tag. That's just the stats and facts. And they don't care about your feelings if you disagree. But when it comes down to what Stefan Borson was saying, he was making the argument that Daniel Levy is ahead of the curve. He's ahead of the curve in that he went out and paid £30 million for Archie Gray. How much do you think Archie Gray is worth today? What about Archie Gray? Sorry, what about Lucas Bergvall? Now you can make the argument that we stumbled across these people because of Ange Postecoglou's reluctance to play them, but then by hook or by crook, injuries, whatever. It is what it is, right? Bad luck is bad luck, but sometimes good things come out of bad opportunities, right? Out of adversity comes opportunity. That is the way that the world works. You never know. I would make the argument that whatever happens this year, wherever we finish, we're not going to go down. I think we're 10 points clear of the drop zone. We are in the semi-final of one cup. We're 4th out of 32 teams in the Europa League. We're in the 4th round of the FA Cup, a horrendous draw against Aston Villa. But, I think that at the end of the day, people that say, well, that Ange Postecoglou, that the January transfer window was a failure because we should have done it earlier. Again, I would point to the fact that all of the experts suggest that it's really not that easy because there's 2 fundamental differences in this January than any other January in previous years. The biggest one being that European teams have to play 2 more games in their group stages under the new format this year than they ever had to before. In previous years, the group stages of the European system was finished before the January window started. Excuse me 1 second. This stuff. Oh God, if I'm going to list out my addictions. Anyway, the January transfer window is usually not occupied by, and late on, by the way, not occupied by European games. And the 7th and the 8th leg of the European system takes place in the final days of the January transfer window. And because of that, that adds another variable, another factor, whereby teams that have desirable players do not want or need necessarily to sell their players when they still need those players to get through their final days. And how many teams had something to play for in the final days of the European system? Tottenham ended up finishing 4th in the Europa League system, but we could have finished outside of the top 16. Could have finished outside. Same with Manchester United, who finished 3rd. Right? I think first and second were okay either way. Napoli, who was it? Lazio, was it? And someone else? Anyway, my point being that there's new concerns, new consistent. There's another factor as well, which will come back to me in a second, as to why this particular January window was unlike any other previous, and why it added another upsetting element that made the apple cart rocked, and whereby directors of football and owners didn't have the ability to crack on like they usually do. And those factors are probably going to be dismissed by people that don't care. If you don't care, I don't care. Like, good luck to you. If you think that Daniel Levy is the problem, as I said before, I think he's part of the issue. I'd like to see him have more risk on. I'd like to see him throw more caution to the wind. I'd like to see him nibble up that's 45%, whatever it is, towards 50. But Johnny was saying we should be up towards 65%. And my reaction to that is, you want us to be spending more money on salaries, but in so doing, you're chewing up the budget of which you can spend. And whether or not Crystal Palace were really going to sell, and Daniel Levy really was honestly thinking that we could, manifest a scenario where you would have Mark Gahey coming to Tottenham. The fact of the matter is that we had £70 million to spend. Arsenal didn't. Newcastle didn't. Manchester United couldn't even pay the loan fee for Matisse Tell, which is one of the reasons why he's at Tottenham. Whether or not you're happy with the fact that he turned us down and he's back here anyway, which I'm not. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with. I'm entirely honest. I'm someone that would rather say you didn't want me yesterday just because I'm more attractive to you today. Doesn't mean that I want you back. So as much as I will give him the benefit of the doubt, part of me wants to say, go F yourself, bro. Why did you think that Manchester United was more desirable? What is it about them that's more desirable than Tottenham? Doesn't make sense to me. So part of me is like, off. But actually, at the same time, I'm not going to cut my nose to spite my face. I've got a super chat here, Blaine. Thank you very much for the super chat. I am going to come back to your question regarding the youth system. I think I touched on it there with regard to Stefan Borson, because I think that Tottenham are putting together, just delicately, the greatest youth system, the greatest youth squad, the youth-centric squad in world football. I think it's incredible, some of the talent that we've got. And I think I do want to touch a little bit on what happened with the game against Elsborg. Right? The benefits of what happened in that game. Dane Scarlett, 21, but been around the youth system, been sent out on loan. Failure. Is he going to manifest into the player that we hope he is? Probably not. Should we just cash in? No. Let's throw him in, and he puts in the first goal, the most important goal. And what a fantastic header it was. He's come alive. Then you've got the other guy, Ajayi, who comes in. Was it first touch, second touch? Been on the pitch for 3 minutes. And then, of course, Mikey Moore, not going to be left standing, right? Determined. And that determination emanates. It emanates. The benefits of that are so unbelievably important to consider. Just think about this for a second. Okay, you can't convince Matisse Tell necessarily to come to Tottenham yet, but he's probably not aware of the detail. But if you are a 17-year-old like Mason Melia, is it? The Irish kid who came to Tottenham. And I've got a story here. The 5 clubs that Tottenham Hotspur beat to sign Mason Melia from St. Patrick's Athletic. We beat, where is it? Manchester City, Chelsea, Bayer Leverkusen, Celtic and Everton were all interested in signing the teenager. And according to Dave from the Irish Hotspur, who I love to pieces, and he doesn't say things willy-nilly, Mason Melia was being shopped around those teams. He went to Germany. He went to Leverkusen. He went to City. He was at the City training ground. He went to Celtic. He went to Everton. He wasn't just of interest. He was actively going around those places. And yet Tottenham stole a march. We paid £1.5 million, a record for Irish League transfer. I don't know how good this kid is. I honestly have no idea. But, probably, a decent crack that he may be if he can keep his feet on the ground and everything. I've looked at his highlight reel. I've looked at his everything reel on YouTube and on the Y Scout now that I'm back connected with it. And it looks incredible. His ability to pick the ball up with his back to goal and then turn and drive, sensational. I'm not saying he'll be ready for Tottenham anytime soon, but if his skill set encourages coming deep, picking the ball up, turning and driving, then if you can turn that guy at 17 into a talent at 19 in a couple of years' time, he doesn't lose that ability to what he's already learned, then how good will that be against teams with low blocks? We don't really have a player in the 9 that can do that. Sensational. He chose Tottenham. Why? Was it just money? I doubt it. I'm sure Manchester City, Celtic, Everton could all compete for his salary. I'm pretty sure it has something to do with the ability to spin the yarn, the tale that we can tell regarding not just our last season's under-21 successes, but our transition into the first team. Mikey Moore, tick. You're a top talent. Look what happens. You get your chance. You don't just get a minute here or a minute there. You get your chance. And we stay persevere. You were sick. We held on. We waited. We get you back. We put you in. You score a goal. Njay, whatever his name is, forgive me for not knowing his detail, comes on 3 minutes in, bang, scores a goal, on the bench ever since. Probably will be for a long time to come. Dane Scarlett, failed. Okay, come back. We'll bring you in. Scores the very, very important goal. Massively important goal. Without that, does the other two happen? I doubt it. The story is we won the under-21 cup. We won the league. Everyone, we were unbelievable in the youth system. Those players transition to the first team. Some go out on loan. Most have had incredible seasons. Most of them have had incredible seasons. Josh Keeley, the other fella at Leyton Orient, whose name escapes me. My mind is boggled. The guys at the Craig twins. The guys, the guy, you know what? You know what I'm talking about. I'm not even going to name them all off. You know what I'm saying, right? They've all had successful loans. So that story is complete. Come in, do well, be a part of a successful team. We'll put you out on the loan. We'll find you the right home. You'll get ready. You'll come back. Even if it doesn't work out, we won't desert you. We will stick by you. But if it does, you're going to be ready to come through. That is a story that needs to be celebrated. And I know that a lot of you want to focus right now only on the miserable scenario that we're having in our Premier League season. That is important and it shouldn't be overlooked. But in the Premier League, yes, everything's bad, but we're not going down. We're not going down, right? I'd be amazed if we are. If we are, shoot me. But I don't think we are. We're not going to qualify for Europe through right. But we might qualify by beating Liverpool tomorrow night and then getting to the final. And if Arsenal were to beat us in the final, they were in the Champions League. We should, I think, I'm not sure of the rules, but I think we would get there, therefore, into the Conference League at least as a consequence of being the best runner-up. I'm not sure. Europa League, second favourite. FA Cup against Villa. We'll see what happens. They've lost Ollie Watkins. Is Marcus Rashford as terrifying as we think? I don't think so. Certainly not in the 9. We can get past Villa. We've got a great track record. This season has everything to play for in the Premier League. And with our transfer policy pivoting towards youth and people like Stefan Borson making the very obvious and very real direction of travel suggestion that is backed up through stats, evidence-based reporting, that everyone is looking towards youth and willing to pay more and more for the best youth out there, then it makes sense that Daniel Levy is a little bit ahead of the curve in that regard. And why, listen, we beat Bayern Munich to Radu Dragusin based on the pitch. We beat Barcelona for Lucas Bergvall based on the pitch. We beat Manchester United for Matisse Tell based on the finances and based on the sales pitch of Ange Postecoglou. We beat 5 other teams to Mesa Melia based on our track record of delivering youth with the best possible progress in recent years towards the first team football that they all crave. It's a very, very, very incentivized and incisive sales pitch to get the very best of the youth. And if the market is moving that direction, but we've been there because of Fabio Paratici speaking to Daniel Levy 3 or 4 years ago and saying, this is a mess, but it could be so good so easily with this and that and the other tweaked. And Daniel Levy's saying, okay, let's do it. And then Fabio is saying, listen, I've got some other shit in the background here. And Daniel Levy's saying, it's all right, just go away, but you can still be involved. I believe in you. I trust you. These things are not by mistake, as much as some people would have you believe that we stumble across the nuggets of good, but the evidence of bad is a consistent theme. They are not. It's not that one-sided. And those of you that believe it is, to me, I think you're being fooled by people that have agendas that care more about being right than what is right. And as I said, guys, the other night when I was on with Johnny, and there were people like Checkmate, who are long-standing Levy outers, who said, Sean will win, as though I'm your enemy, when all I'm doing is saying it how I see it. And by the way, I support those people who want to protest. I support you. I always do, because I think it's necessary. I think it keeps Daniel Levy on his toes. Do I think we would have signed Matisse Tell had everyone been rosy? And everyone's like, oh, whatever, you know what, it is what it is. Let's just move on. No, I don't. Do I think that there was any real interest in Mark Gate? I think there is legitimate interest. Do I think it was a sincere bid with any real opportunity of happening? Of course not.
And I think that Daniel Levy is guilty sometimes of thinking that he can trick and flatter to deceive and fool in the valley of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. I think he's guilty of thinking that at times as well. And so I do think that the part that the Levy outers play is very necessary and very relevant. I personally just will not be a part of it because I think it's for me, it's a waste of time for me personally. I'm not undermining its value. Do I think he will ever leave as a consequence of people protesting? No. Do I think he will lower his asking price as a consequence of voting of people protesting? No, I don't. But do I think that the louder that noise becomes, the more he will be sensitive to the fallout from it? He's a human being. He doesn't like being called a cunt. He doesn't like his name being called out every game. So I encourage you guys to do it. I really do, and I support you in your endeavors. So don't think of me as your enemy. If you do, I don't care either way what you think of me. I'm going to see life through my own lens, right? But do I think that he is going to sell if we get relegated? And this is the thing. This is the thing that concerns me, right? As I said, it's the wave. It's the natural wave. It's a psychological wave. It's a book. I think it's called. I think it was. I'm gonna butcher this. Is it Stella and Marx? Stella and Makis? I know I'm going to forget it. But there was a psychological book about this, the waves of psychology, right? And I probably butchered both the name and the author. I'll correct it next time. The waves of psychology are as people that are like line in the sand, hardcore, and then the energy of a movement pushes that direction. As the Johnny come latelys move over, they need to differentiate the hardcore relevant few that was there the whole time. They need to move that way to the more extreme to be able to differentiate themselves from the recent moderates that have moved into that pathway. And that's what I see with the Levy out movement. You see people now saying, we've been here the whole time. What's more important, Levy leaving or Tottenham winning? Actually, it's better for us if Tottenham get relegated. In fact, actually winning a trophy is horrendous for our cause. And I'm like, what the are you talking about? Your whole cause is based on the predication that we don't win enough trophies. And then we're on the cusp of winning one. And that is now seen as flipped, right? The world's upside down. And that's one of the reasons why I came on an hour and 13 minutes ago. I've been talking for an hour and 13 minutes. Jesus Christ. Totspur 63 saying, have a beer on me, Sean. I appreciate you, Totspur. I really do, mate. I really do. I haven't even got any comments up. At all. I've been on a monologue of monologues. Jesus Christ. Let me get down to the front. Let me see what's going on here. Look at the possible longevity of this squad. If we keep the good ones and start winning as others done, like Man United, FF Levy gets people to think positive about him for half a season. It's job done for his bosses. Yet again, carrot and stick. Yeah, see, I just don't agree with that at all. You know what? Daniel Levy might not be a people person. He might not be a people person at all. But what he is a Tottenham fan. And he doesn't have the material wealth. Again, listen, I would rather... I don't align myself to anyone's views because they feel that way. Right? I have my views. I'm an independent thinker. I have my views. And if other people share them, then so be it. But I stumbled across that after the fact. Simon Jordan, I didn't know that Simon Jordan happens to feel the same way that I do. Sometimes I sit there and listen to him on a TalkSport thing, and I wonder whether he's been watching my content because he says the same thing that I've been saying for ages, right? Obviously, that's not the case. He doesn't give a shit about me either. But I'd rather be on the same side of a conversation about an owner with him who's been there and done that and lived that life than I would people who, think that they can get into the mind of Daniel Levy and interpret his ambition or his intention. He's a Tottenham fan. He happens to be a very successful businessman. And as much as people say the football side is the football side and the business side is the business side, and that's it, and he's a good business guy, but he doesn't give a shit about this, you're mad if you think the two don't overlap. They absolutely do. You absolutely do. £10 in Katie's, a lot of Katie's. Yeah, listen, mate. I've actually run out. That was my first and only one that was there. It's done. I'm up now back on this is the water. So thank you very much for the super chats, guys. I really appreciate you. Listen, let me ask you this. How about this, right? So I spent the last 75 minutes talking about my stance on Tottenham and not just Daniel Levy. But I'd love to see just as we did that 1-0 barometer, right? So earlier on, I asked you whether you were Levy out and if you were ones, and if you're on the fence or you kind of understand that there's more to it or whatever. If you're not Levy out necessarily, put the zeros. Throw in the ones and zeros again right now, whether or not people like me, people like other channels, whether they influence your opinion or whether or not they don't. If channels influence your personal opinion, I'd love to know whether listening to takes like this or otherwise just supplement the opinion you already have, or whether they can actually make any indentation on your opinion. One, if opinions of content creators shape your opinion or can have an impact. Zeros if it doesn't matter what people say, you feel the way you feel. Ones for change, zeros for I don't care either way. Love to see that. What we got here? We got Danny Kiriakou saying, hi, Sean. Hi, Danny. I haven't seen you for ages, mate. You okay? Hope you're okay, buddy. Hope you're okay. Here we go. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. So one is content creators can shape opinions. Zero is your mind is made up through your own thoughts. Let's have a look. What we got? David O'Glockton says he's shapeable. Malt is shapeable. Joe is not. Gary's not. MJ is not. Chill, Blaine, 0-0. Andy will listen and will take advice. Immersive, 0-0. Gary, Zookeeper. Blaine saying, it will think about it, but it doesn't influence. 1-0. 1. 1-0-0. 0-1-1-0-0-1. Somewhere in the middle. Interesting. What I can gather from today's polls is that some of you are Levy in, some of you are Levy out. Or, sorry, some of you are not Levy in, some of you are definitely Levy out. And that some of you, believe it or not, don't give a shit what any of us say. You feel the way you feel. And others, you kind of are interested, but not really that, not willing to put yourself out there. It's fascinating. I always wondered like what influence do people have? What if, like, are you an influencer? No, right? You're just saying your piece, and you want to get shit off your chest, and some people want to dial in. There's 800 of you here, by the way, just on Spurs Talk Show, and on the other one as well. I'm not sure. There's a few people probably on Twitter as well, so I'm not sure what the numbers are. But smash the like button, guys, if you enjoy this. Smash the subscribe if you haven't already on Spurs Talk Show. And if you like this kind of dialogue, then obviously on Football Inc, you're going to capture Johnny and I doing that for all things football, not just Tottenham. Also, get on the Spurs Talk Show as well. Smash the subscribe there. Links in the description. If you're on YouTube right now, go down, right click on the 3 links: Spurs Talk Show, Football Inc, and Sean Butler TV. I'm going to be pulling out. I've got like a really interesting article to go through from old Swiss Ramble about the Italian finances with Napoli's specifically. It's fascinating. It really is fascinating that Napoli selling Kvaratskhelia is the fifth largest net gain in the history of Italian football, because they bought him, and by the time that the contract was wound down to what it was, he was only worth £2 million on their net asset value on their books. And selling him for 70 million meant that they had a 68 million euro profit, which counts as the 5th largest net profit of any player in the history of Italian football. Excuse me, on a sale. Quite fascinating. This is the thing. Tottenham and Daniel Levy are participating in a league where the rules around numbers just don't seem to have any correlation with big teams in other leagues. It's madness. It's actually madness how, like, Napoli and like Juve, just because of the draw of Juve, or AC Milan of the draw of AC Milan, if Tottenham went up against AC Milan or Juve on most players, we would lose even if you offered the guy 50% more money, because for some reason everyone just seems to accept that Italian football plays on a lower financial threshold, and yet playing for Juve is a bigger draw despite the monetary drop-off than it is if you play for an Aston Villa or a Tottenham, or even to some extent a Manchester United. Absolutely insane. Absolutely bonkers. where are we at, guys? I wanted to talk to you a little bit quickly about tomorrow. I'm going to engage with you guys now. I'm going to engage you. Last question of the day, right? Last question before I round off is Jojo for the super chat here. For a green juice, not a beer, Sean. Look after your health. Who's that pooch? He's so cute. Is that a he or a she? I think that's a she. No, it's a he. He's a cocker spaniel, is it? Is that a cocker spaniel puppy? Thank you, Jojo. Thank you very much. It must be very early in the morning over there for you. It must be like 4 o'clock in the morning. What's going on? Thank you very much, Jojo, for the super chat. I appreciate it. I promise you I will do my best to add some turmeric or some beetroot juice into my my Katie Thatcher. Thank you very much. I appreciate you very much. It's very nice of you. Oh, 379 on Spurs Talk Show. Is that okay? Well, there's like 800 people watching, apparently. That's interesting. That's interesting. Where's the rest? Guys, let me talk to you about the game tomorrow night. What are we thinking? What are we thinking? Ones and zeros. One, are we going to get through? Zeros if we're not. Smash the numbers. Ones and zeros. Ones, we're going to get through. Zeros if we're not. How are we going to feel about this one? How are we going to feel about it? Ones and zeros. 0, we're not getting through. What we got here? We got. Here we go. 1 from Adrian, I think that is. Good to see you, Adrian. 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. Oh, look at that. This is the confidence we get from the Spurs Talk Show tunes. Stop, mate. You're making too much sense. Appreciate you. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. 0 from Matthew. 1, 1, 1. Oh, this is what I'm talking about. People, I didn't know you were all so bloody positive. I love it. Love it. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. 0 for James Joris. Daily Hotspurs. 0, 0. Oh, Darv Hotspurs, sorry. 0's all the board. Biscuit chicken. I would love to. I'd love to have a conversation. People go, where did you come up with your name from? I get it. Like Emmanuel Spanos. Maybe his name is Emmanuel Spanos. Maybe it's Emmanuel and then Spanos means something. Gov. Thank you very much, Gov, for the super chats the other day, mate. By the way, if that's the same Gov, I think it is very, very cool of you, mate. And I love that icon that you got there. That guy is scary, like an AI, futuristic nutcase. Who we got here? Inoki Umoja. Nkosi Emoja. That's very cool. Very cool. Joe, 1, 2. Look at that. One's across the board. One's across the board. Is Matisse Tell the reason? Are we thinking that he's going to come on and bang us in? I saw Mark Goldbridge saying, it was so funny. What the bloody hell is going on? Oh, what the bloody hell? He was saying, I don't want to be beaten by Tottenham, by Spurs. It's outrageous. And he said it's going to be typical bloody Man United. He goes, we're going to get to the Europa League final against Tottenham, and Matisse Tell's going to come on in the 70th minute, and in the 80th minute, he's going to bang in the winner. And I fucking hope you're wrong. I hope you're right. I hope you're right, mate. I would love nothing more than to play Manchester United in the Europa League final. That would be a dream because they are fucking shit. They are shit. They are so bad right now. They are so bad. But listen, first of all, we got to get through tomorrow night. What's your thoughts on Arsenal Newcastle, guys? Anyone thinking 1s and 0s? 1s for Arsenal, 0s for Newcastle. What are we thinking? 1s for Arsenal, 0s for Newcastle. I think Newcastle are going to get through. I think it'll be like 1-1 on the night, and I think Newcastle are going to smash it and get through to the final. And I'd love it if Tottenham did too, so that at least one of the other teams can win something forever. Newcastle, 0-0s galore coming through. Love that. Come on, boys. Let's go for Newcastle. Let's root for them. Although I'm very much aware that God forbid that Tottenham lose to Liverpool and then Newcastle beat Liverpool in the final. I know that then my whole argument of there's only 5 teams win 90% of all trophies goes out of the window. And everyone's like, what about Newcastle, Sean? What about Newcastle, you fraud? You fraud! I know how it works. I'm still rooting for them. It's obviously going to be something that we can. It's about time someone new won something, and it's a massive game. It's a massive game for all 4 teams this week. You know, Arsenal need it. Arsenal really, really, really need a trophy under Arteta. Liverpool, Arne Slot, 6 months into his first season, getting that one out, getting the monkey off his back. Not even there's no monkey on his back, but just kind of getting that out of the way. And then for Tottenham and Newcastle, it's massive, right? It's absolutely massive. Should I have subs mode on? Is that why is subs mode on? What are you saying? Subs mode. What's that about? Oh, that's a good point. I should be asking you for, yeah, you know what? Let me be shameless. Let me be absolutely shameless in that regard. You know what? There's only 350 people watching. I'm sure that most of them are subscribed. If you're not subscribed, guys, then smash the subscribe. I'm going to round it off soon so you can all go and watch the football. I'm going to go and watch it too. I'm going to go and get some Katie's with your wonderful generosity, guys. I really appreciate you hanging on and listening to me. Jojo, thank you so much for the super chat. Totspur, absolute legend. Blaine Devlin, mate, you are one of my favourite men I've ever met. I can't wait to meet you one day, mate. If you want to come over to the UK, you always got a place here to stay. My man, just let me know and we'll sort that out. Same with any of you, really. Any people that I know for a long time. Roy Viking, big up for becoming a new member. You don't need to anymore. Like I'm serious when I say, guys, like as much as I appreciate the memberships, I really do. I hope that I'll be able to do this. I will every day I can. I will be delivering content again. I'll be back out with Bugsy coming up, and I'll do it as long as I can. But just if there's a big pause from me and I haven't had the chance to say why, just know why. It's because I've had to essentially distance myself from an email address, etc., and figure it out. But thank you, Roy, for the super chat as well. Start over, the support will be there. I really appreciate you, mate. Moondog as well. Thank you very much. Blaine again, Moondoggy Dog, Tom Martin, and Drew Zilla. I love you, Drew. I'll be in touch. I'm going to get myself back on WhatsApp and get myself back into that WhatsApp group because someone needs to moderate. Guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for listening to me over the last hour and a half. I hope I haven't been too verbose and too moronic. So glad you're back, says on Inutis. On Inutis. Love that. Yeah, Brian Day was in the house. Big up, Brian. There you go, mate. Brian, if you haven't been listening, mate, I've been waxing lyrical about you. I always support you and your protests. You know I don't subscribe to the same rationale as you do, mate, but I will always support people that want to represent their voices. And I think you play a very, very real and very, very necessary part in the discourse, because I think that if it wasn't for the noise against Daniel Levy, then I doubt that we would have Matisse Tell in our squad for the time being. And I think that the louder it gets, the more Daniel Levy will put his effort in, or at least on some level. So whilst I don't subscribe to Levy out for the reasons I've always mentioned, I think people like yourself, Brian, are very much necessary, and you do a very good job. And I wish you luck with all of your endeavours. As to all of you that I'll leave you out, I'm sure I will never change your mind. But I hope you can appreciate why I feel the way that I do. I just see it through a different lens, and that should be okay. Should be okay with everyone. I'm not your enemy if you think like Brian does, and you fear that way. And I hope that Brian doesn't subscribe to the same things as Checkmate does. I hope that the idea of winning a trophy is not problematic, and the idea of relegation is not success, because relegation does not lead to Daniel Levy selling. Relegation just leads to us being in the Championship for a year, and how fucking shit would that be? Anyway, guys, love you all. I'll see you after the game on Football Inc. So get over there and subscribe to that one. In the links in the description. You'll see me tomorrow in the morning for either a live stream or a walk with Bugsy for the pre-match and for whatever else is going on. And then you'll see me after the game as well for the rundown. Love you all, and I'll see you again. Thank you all for your support. It means the world. I really do mean that. I love you all, guys. See you again. Take care. Bye-bye.